My parents forced me to give my $750,000 home to my golden child brother for absolutely $0. My parents are popping champagne right now, thinking they successfully bullied me into submission. They think they have secured a free mansion for their precious son just because he's getting married. But what they don't know is that by signing that deed, they didn't just inherit a house, they inherited a hidden $150,000 environmental violation that is due in exactly 7 days. If they don't pay, the city seizes the property. I am the only one who knows, and I just turned off my phone. Here is how I destroyed my entitled family without lifting a finger. My name is Liam, and I am 29 years old. To understand why I did this, you have to understand the family dynamic I grew up in. My younger brother, Brad, has always been the golden child. If Brad failed a test, it was the teacher's fault. If I failed, I wasn't studying hard enough. Brad got a new car for his 16th birthday, while I worked at a fast food joint to buy my own beat-up sedan. I never complained, though. That pressure made me independent. I got into tech early, invested in real estate, and by the time I was 27, I bought a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a nice suburb just outside of Chicago. The mistake I made was letting my parents and Brad move in 2 years ago when my dad lost his job. I charged them zero rent. I covered utilities, groceries, everything. I thought I was doing the right thing. Fast forward to 3 months ago. Brad brings home Tiffany. She's high maintenance and immediately started treating my house like it was already hers. A few weeks later, big news came out. Tiffany is pregnant and they're getting married. Last Sunday, my parents called a family meeting in the living room. My mom started crying before she even spoke. She said that Brad and Tiffany need stability for the baby. My dad then looked me in the eye and said that they think it is best if I sign the house over to Brad. Not sell it to him, but give it to him. Tiffany chimed in saying her parents won't let her marry Brad unless he owns property. They basically told me since I'm single and successful, I can just go buy another house and that I should give this one to Brad as a wedding gift. I laughed because I thought it was a joke, but they were serious. They called me greedy, ungrateful, and a terrible brother. My dad finally gave me an ultimatum. He said if I don't do this for my brother, I am no longer their son and they will cut me off completely. Cut me off? I pay for everything. The audacity was stunning. But as I looked at their entitled faces, I remembered something. I remembered a specific legal issue regarding the property deed and a major violation I had discovered last month. It involves a leaking underground tank from the previous owner that violates city codes. It is going to cost a fortune to fix, and the deadline from the city is next week. I stood up and put on my best defeated face. I told them they win. I said I don't want to lose my family. The room erupted in cheers. I told them I would have my lawyer draw up a quitclaim deed. I explained that it is the fastest way to transfer ownership without inspections or title insurance. They were so happy to get a free house that they didn't even question why I wanted to skip the inspections. I told them we can sign the papers next Monday, but I would be moving out immediately to give them space. As I walked out the front door with my bags, leaving my key on the table, I heard them discussing which walls to knock down for the nursery. They have no idea that Monday is going to be the beginning of their financial ruin. I spent the weekend at a luxury hotel downtown, treating myself to room service and a spa day. My phone was blowing up with texts from my mom and Tiffany asking about the alarm codes, the thermostat settings, and when I would be coming back to move the rest of my junk out of the garage. I didn't reply to a single message. I just watched the city skyline and waited for Monday. Monday morning arrived. We met at a notary public's office downtown. I wanted everything official. I wanted a third-party witness to verify that they were signing these documents of their own free will, fully sound of mind. When I walked in, the whole clan was there. My dad was wearing his best suit, looking like he had just won the lottery. Tiffany was tapping her long acrylic nails on the table, looking impatient. Brad was bragging to the receptionist about his new property portfolio. When I sat down, my mom gave me a fake, pitying smile. She said she was proud of me for finally doing the right thing for the family. She said that one day, when I have kids, I will understand the importance of sacrifice. It took every ounce of self-control not to laugh in her face. I placed the quitclaim deed on the table. For those who don't know, a quitclaim deed transfers ownership of a property as is. It means the new owner gets the house, but they also get every single lien, debt, and code violation attached to it. Unlike a standard sale, there is no title search required. It is fast, dirty, and dangerous if you don't do your homework. They, evidently, had not done their homework. The notary, a woman named Sarah, looked at the papers and then at my family. She frowned slightly. She asked them if they had run a title search or inspected the property records. She warned them that by signing this, they were accepting full legal responsibility for the land and any existing encumbrances. Before she could even finish her sentence, my dad cut her off. He waved his hand dismissively and said they know the house. They have lived there for 2 years and there is nothing to worry about. Tiffany rolled her eyes and told Sarah to just show them where to sign because they had a lunch reservation to get to. I watched in silence as they signed their names. Brad signed with a flourish. My dad signed as a witness. The deed was done. The house was legally theirs. And so was the underground oil tank leakage that the Environmental Protection Agency had flagged just 3 weeks ago. I handed over the keys and the garage remote. I told them I was heading straight to the airport for a long business trip to Tokyo and wouldn't be reachable for a while. Brad grabbed the keys and smirked, telling me to have a safe flight and not to hurry back. I walked out of that office, got into my rental car, and drove to the airport. But I didn't fly to Tokyo. I flew to a resort in Hawaii. I needed a nice sunny place to watch the fireworks from a distance. I turned off my primary phone and switched to a burner phone that only had one app installed, the security camera feed for the house. You see, I gave them the house, but I forgot to cancel the internet and security subscription immediately. I wanted to see the exact moment their world crumbled. It didn't take long. Wednesday morning, exactly 48 hours after they signed the papers, a white van with the city seal pulled into the driveway. A man in a high-visibility vest walked up to the door holding a clipboard and a very thick envelope. It was the city inspector. The grace period for the violation notice had just expired. I sat on my balcony in Hawaii sipping a Mai Tai and zoomed in on the camera feed as Tiffany opened the door. I watched her face transform from annoyance to confusion and finally to pure panic as the inspector handed her the notice of seizure and mandatory remediation. The show was about to begin. I cranked the volume on my iPad to the max. Through the high-definition security camera, I could hear every word. Tiffany was screaming, waving the bright orange paper in the poor inspector's face. She was shouting that they had just moved in, that they didn't know anything about a leak, and that this must be a mistake. The inspector remained calm. He pointed to the document and explained that the violation notices had been sent to this address for months. He said that since they are now the legal owners of record, the remediation costs and the accumulating fines are 100% their responsibility. Brad and my parents ran out to the driveway. My dad snatched the paper from Tiffany. I watched his face turn pale white. The document stated that there was an underground oil tank from the 1950s that had corroded and was leaking into the local groundwater. The estimated cost for soil removal and tank extraction was $150,000. But here's the kicker. The city was charging a non-compliance fine of $500 for every single day the work was delayed, and that fine had been backdated. "Liam!" my dad roared at the empty driveway. "Where is that ungrateful little snake?" They immediately pulled out their phones. My burner phone was silent, of course, but I could imagine my old number was lighting up like a Christmas tree. I didn't answer. I just watched. They rushed back inside the house. I switched the camera view to the living room feed. It was pure chaos. My mom was sobbing on the expensive Italian sofa she had forced me to buy last year. Tiffany was yelling at Brad, asking him how he could let this happen. Brad, being the useless golden child he is, was just pacing around saying, "We can just sell it. We'll just sell it to someone else." That was when my dad called their lawyer, the same family friend who had looked over the papers but evidently hadn't done a thorough job because he assumed I was a good son. I could hear my dad shouting into the phone on speaker. "What do you mean we can't sell it?" my dad yelled. There was a pause as the lawyer spoke. Then my dad's knees buckled and he sat down heavily on the coffee table. The lawyer explained the trap. Because the city had placed a lien on the property due to the environmental hazard, the house had a clouded title. No bank would finance a mortgage for a new buyer until the debt was paid and the soil was certified clean. The house was essentially worthless until they put $150,000 into it. And since I had used a quitclaim deed, I had legally washed my hands of the property. I had made no warranties, no guarantees. They took it as is, warts and all. My mom started screaming, "He set us up! He knew! That's why he left!" Finally, I decided to check my old phone. I turned it on, 73 missed calls, 20 voicemails. I played the first one from my dad. "Liam, pick up the phone now. There has been a mistake with the house. You need to come back and sign some papers to take it back. The city is crazy. They want money. You need to handle this. You're the one with the money. Call thee." The second voicemail was from Brad. "Bro, this isn't funny. Tiffany is freaking out. You need to wire us the money for this repair. It's your house. You can't just dump this on us. If you don't fix this, I'm gonna sue you." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. Sue me? For what? Giving them exactly what they demanded? I decided to send one single text message to the family group chat. I didn't want to talk to them, but I wanted them to know that I was watching. I typed, "Enjoy the house. As per the contract you forced me to sign, all assets and liabilities are now yours. I suggest you start digging that hole soon. $500 a day adds up fast." Then I blocked their numbers, but I didn't block the camera feed because the best part was yet to come. I watched as Tiffany packed a bag and stormed out the front door, screaming that she wasn't going to raise a baby in a toxic waste dump. Brad tried to stop her, but she got in her car and drove off. My parents were left sitting in the living room of a mansion they couldn't afford to fix, couldn't sell, and couldn't live in safely. The golden child was crying in the corner. But the story doesn't end there. You see, when you mess with the government and environmental laws, things escalate very quickly. It has been exactly 12 months since I boarded that plane to Hawaii. I haven't spoken a single word to my parents or my brothers since the day I sent that text message. However, I still hear updates through the grapevine, mostly from my aunt, who was the only family member to take my side once the full truth came out. Here is the damage report. The city of Chicago does not play games when it comes to environmental hazards. The fines piled up faster than my family could panic. $500 a day turned into $15,000 a month. My parents tried to fight it in court, claiming I had tricked them, but the judge took one look at the notarized quitclaim deed signed by them, witnessed by my dad, with no inspection clause, and threw their case out. The law is clear. They accepted the property as is. Ignorance is not a legal defense. To try and save the house, my parents drained their entire life savings. They emptied their 401k retirement funds to pay for the soil remediation, but the project went over budget. They've ran out of money halfway through. 6 months ago, the inevitable happened. The bank foreclosed on the property because they couldn't pay the property taxes, and the city placed a secondary lien for the unpaid fines. The house was seized and sold at a sheriff's auction for pennies on the dollar to a developer who could afford the cleanup.
My parents walked away with absolutely nothing. Actually, less than nothing. They filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy last November. They are currently living in a small, 2-bedroom rental apartment in a rough part of town. My dad had to come out of retirement and is now working as a greeter at Walmart to pay the rent. As for Brad, the golden child, his life imploded even faster. Tiffany didn't just leave him, she went nuclear. She sued him for child support, and since Brad has no assets and no house, she easily won full custody of their child. Brad is now back living with my parents in that cramped apartment, sleeping on their couch, just like the old days. I heard he finally got a job delivering pizzas. It's a bit of a step down from the property tycoon he thought he was going to be. And me? I'm doing fantastic. My business has doubled in the last year. I used the money I saved from not supporting 3 adult parasites to buy a new place. I now live in a modern penthouse downtown with a view of the lake. No yard work, no leaking oil tanks, and most importantly, no toxic family members. Sometimes, late at night, I check my blocked messages folder just for amusement. It's always the same. Walls of text from my mom begging for forgiveness, asking for money, saying that family helps family. I never reply. They taught me a valuable lesson after all. They taught me that family isn't about blood, it's about respect. And if you try to steal from the hand that feeds you, don't be surprised when you starve. They wanted a free house. Well, they got it. It just cost them everything else they had. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed watching my entitled family get exactly what they deserved, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories like this. See you in the next one.